Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel V. Hill, presented by Superbook Sports. Taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I love those clips because there's the one with you and James Merlot who's going to join us shortly here. And it's literally like, oh my gosh. And I feel like that's a conversation we always have. But how are you, D-Mac?
I'm doing well, Rachel. I can see the sun for what feels like the first time in forever. I know there's some clouds coming in this afternoon, but I took my bike to work yesterday and home, and it was I went through Cherry Creek State Park. There was a sinkhole in the middle of the road.
What?
So I was gonna go one way. I mean, it was a gargantuan sinkhole, and the whole road was closed, and I had to add on 4 extra miles to my ride because I was kind of in a spot. Like there was nowhere else to go. So, not to brag or anything, because I hardly, crushed it, but, it was just a weird moment. And then I was going home and it was soaking wet, and,
I don't want to be mean, D-Mac, but it's been raining like every single day for probably over a week now. So what in your mind was like, I should take my bike to work today?
I'm just so frustrated because at this time of the year, in all honesty, normally I'm taking my bike. If I don't have something after work, I try to take my bike to work every single day. So usually I'll take my bike to work. I mean, I'm not joking, maybe 4 or 5 months in a row, because usually it's okay. And I can start usually in March or so, and especially with daylight savings. But it is, Rachel, it's been ridiculous. I mean, we've had a lot of things going on after work too, of course. But I mean, still, it's been tough. So I just thought I could sneak in a day, and I did. But it was like, it was not great. But hopefully we get better summer Colorado weather here to come. But
it'll probably be like 100 degrees for 3 weeks straight, and we'll all be like, please give us some rain. But yeah, your adventure after work was a lot different than mine. I told you how I do like 30 days of running a mile every single day. But I had to like run it in the rain a little bit yesterday, and like that was ideal. But that's a little bit different than your 4 extra miles of your bike ride.
Well, sometimes running when it's just like a light sort of drizzle is actually kind of cool. Like sometimes that actually, sometimes it's like the 60s with just a little sort of light sort of rain can be really cool to run in. I don't know how it was for you. Were you all right? Was it too wet? What?
I was good. My boyfriend so I always run with my dog, and then my boyfriend was like on his bike going next to us. And my dog was trying so hard to keep up with my boyfriend on his bike that we were just flat flying. Like I was so out of breath. I feel like when you just like are jogging, like a casual jog, I was like, okay, like this is good. And then that was a whole different level. We knocked off like a minute of our time. So it was crazy. Like we were hauling, but it was fun.
You want to brag? Can you tell us what your time was for your mile?
Oh, it wasn't anything to brag about. I think yesterday I got 8:42. So like nothing insane by any means.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm not a runner, so I say that very cautiously, but yeah, not bad.
So how do you do it? Do you run out a half mile and run back, or is there some sort of loop that you can do?
So I just have this app, and I essentially just like run. I go like every which direction all the time, all over my neighborhood. So I never take the exact same path twice. So I just go everywhere, and then I'll run pretty much until it says a mile, and I'll try and do some like loops, and then I'll just walk back in order to like kind of stretch out my legs.
Okay. That is so you just run for a mile.
I just run for a mile.
Like, okay, here I go.
Yep.
It's a mile.
2 weeks into the challenge, and I still hate running. So there's that.
Do you run like Phoebe from Friends? Just like,
No, I have good running posture, if that's the correct word. So did you run the Boulder? No, I did not. I don't know if I'm that kind of lady. My dad ran it once. My sister's run it a bunch of times too. I don't know if I'm that kind of girl, that kind of runner.
I've run the Boulder a dozen or so times, and it's awesome. It's a super cool event. One of the cooler things, it's just a personal little thing, but COVID canceled it one year, of course, and I just ran it. I ran it on the day. I ran the course. It wasn't happening, but I just went to Boulder and just ran it, and I documented it on social. It's just kind of here we go. It's the Boulder. And it was so wild to run it without all the the people and all the things. Like, I really had to be like, am I on the course? It was kind of weird because it didn't, seem like the same thing. And of course, the stadium was closed. I couldn't run into the stadium. But I love the Boulder Bowl. I did not do it this year. My son did it with a bunch of his friends from work, and he's 23 and in great shape. And I can proudly say that he has not beat my best time in the Boulder.
Okay.
So, son, you got work to do.
Okay, well, I want to show you this quick video, too, as we will bring in James Merritt. Did you see this reporter who stiff-armed a fan? I am obsessed with this video. Here we go.
It's awesome.
I love this. I think it is so funny. Like, literally, she is like, hell no. Get the hell out of my shot. James Merritt, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great.
Let's see if I can do that to James. Can I?
Right? I'm like, I want to stiff arm somebody like that. I feel like anytime somebody's jumped in my shot, I'm like, okay, I'm like, you're funny. Go away. No, hell, next time I'm just throwing somebody. I don't care anymore. I love that video. But James, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. I've done the Boulder once. That was enough. I've checked it off the list. I'm done.
I'm not a runner like that by any means. But James, you were at game 2 on Sunday night. I'm curious to hear your feedback, because let's just take away everything that happened on the court real quick. But you went with your 3 sons. How was it, the environment of actually being a fan for the game?
Oh, we had a great time. I mean, it's the first time I've ever been to a basketball game an hour before tip-off.
Mm-hmm.
We got there, just wanted to make sure we took everything in, and watching all the warm-ups and watching everything going on, and just walking the concourses and seeing all the people. And I have never seen more people in Nuggets gear than I did at that game. Like, it seemed like everyone was wearing a jersey, a T-shirt, a hat, combination of all of that. It was incredible. So just being downtown, it was everywhere. It was just a really fun experience right up until the fourth quarter. And then it kind of went down the tubes. But look, if Jamal Murray makes that shot, we're in the building for the greatest moment in the history of the Nuggets.
Yeah.
You missed it. It's a chance you take. So now they got some work to do, but it was a fun night. Hopefully it's something they remember forever.
You've been critical of Michael Malone plenty of times. Would you have called a timeout?
100%. You had 2 of them. You could have extended the game and had 2 possessions and seen if the Heat could make a free throw up a point with the crowd going nuts and 5 or 6 seconds left. Like, yes, it was silly. He took him home, and he and Vic Fangio are going to trade him as cards or what? I don't get it. It makes no sense at all.
D-Mike, I forget, where do you sit on that? Would you have called the timeout?
I would have, yeah. I mean, in his defense, listen, he's the coach. He's the one getting paid all the money to make those decisions. His reasoning was based that the Heat are better coming out of those situations. But my argument to that is your best chance, coach, is when the best player in the world touches the ball and makes the final decision. And we have seen Jokic pass the ball in those situations because it was the best decision to be made. Last year against Golden State, who did he pass it to? Monte Morris, right? So he's got the ball. All right, they got me. I'm passing it to Monte. He hits it, big game winner over Monte. Or, frankly, Jokic takes the shot from 3. He gives it the old Sombor shuffle. And, he makes the shot. When you don't call the timeout, it's just 4 guys standing around looking at Jamal. And I love Jamal. I think he's amazing. And he's a pretty amazing fourth quarter guy. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, man, that play wasn't creative. The ball got away from Jamal a little bit. So there were a couple of times to call a timeout. Just sort of organize yourself. I go back to the Gary Kubiak calling a timeout to get DeMarcus Ware into a game where on the surface it would help the Patriots set up for their offense. But it was just like, no, I need to have my best guys in position. It doesn't matter if this gives the other team an advantage too. So I just don't get it. If the game was tied, I'd be fine with it. If the game was tied, I'd be fine with it. But it wasn't tied. You were down 3. And like James actually points out, you could have gone for an easy 2 out of a timeout and then, taken a foul. You did have time to do that. But we saw classic Jamal Murray dribble around and do nothing. I mean, we've seen that a million times and then miss the shot.
Well, we saw it at the end of the first half. They did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
He never passed the ball. Jokic is wide open. He plays hero ball. He throws up a contested 3 and he misses it. So, like, Michael Malone can say, it gives us our best chance. They're better out of a timeout. You literally saw in that same game the exact same situation and it didn't work. So he can say it, but he's full of it, right? Like a defense isn't that he's the coach and he makes a lot of money. It's just not. He made a bad decision. It was another brain lock by Michael Malone on the bench. That's the only way I can explain it. Makes no sense.
It was a tough one because literally nobody would question him for calling a timeout.
No.
I mean, nobody. So you really rolled the dice with the riskier option. And that just seems like, and then after the game, he like eviscerates everybody. And I went back and watched the game, and I think there were some problems on defense, but the problems on defense specifically were with Christian Brown, who was confused about where to go in a couple of matchups with Duncan Robinson. They did give up a 15-point lead, but guys, they had an 8-point lead going into the fourth quarter. But you decided as the coach to kind of go with Christian Brown when you really needed more defense than offense at that time. You didn't need the energy. You need a more disciplined, defense. And so I think Malone kind of got caught twice in that game. And then, then he comes out and just, let's be really honest here. He ripped apart Michael Porter Jr. after the game. That's who he was directing all that to. Maybe a little KCP, a little bit, but more or less that's like, body language, and it doesn't look like they care and all that. And that's Michael Porter Jr., man. And listen, Michael Porter Jr. had a bad game. He did. He had a bad game. But if on the other hand, when Max Strus has a bad game, Eric Spoelstra's like, let it fly. Shooters got to shoot. It's like, this is who we are.
At some point, here's a fun exercise. I've done it, so I recommend everybody to do it. Google Michael Malone rips Nuggets, and then Google Michael Malone takes the blame. Fun exercise. Lots and lots of results. No results.
Okay, hold on. How many of those are coming from DenverSports.com, though? That's what I need to know.
Some, but how many times can you play this card, right? How many times can you play it? And it was, 2 years ago after game 2 down in Phoenix, my team quit. Okay, 2 guys are on the floor that were on that team, Nikola Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. So who you blaming? At some point, the obvious answer is Michael Porter Jr., but the other part of this is who's your alpha? Who's your best player? Who's the guy that's supposed to be leading everybody? Nikola Jokic, I sat there and watched him. He was checked out. When he wasn't in the game, he sat at the end of the bench all the way down by the 17th and 18th assistant coach and didn't interact with anybody. So Michael Malone's greatest play has been that he has endeared himself to Nikola Jokic. It's the only reason he's still here. He's the 4th longest tenured coach in the NBA, and everybody else has a ring except for him. So he better be careful here with ripping his star players, because at some point, the people in that room are going to give him the double bird right back. That's what's going to happen. You can't continue to do that publicly. You just can't. Eric Spoelstra is a great coach. What did a great coach say after they blew Game 6 against the Heat on their home court? Nothing but positive, right? What did he say after they lost Game 1 to the Nuggets? Nothing but positive. Michael Malone continues to play this card, and it is a very dangerous card.
Yeah.
If they win it, okay, all's going to be forgiven. If they don't, he's the guy who blew a 15-point lead in Game 2 of the NBA Finals when you're up a game. Last time the Nuggets blew that big of a lead at home in the playoffs, 2019, 17-point lead to the Blazers. They lost that series. Who was the coach of that team? Michael Malone. So careful, coach. Careful. You might want to take an arrow every once in a while.
I'm like on a fine line between this, because I don't, if you know your team isn't playing to the level that you expect out of them, especially in the NBA Finals, this isn't game 57 of the regular season. I don't mind you being like, you know what? They didn't play to their highest level, their highest expectations that I have for them. I don't have a problem with that. My problem actually lies with what you both said of he doesn't call out MPJ personally, but we all know that it's MPJ. But when Jamal goes 0 from 9 from 3, it's like, oh, it's okay, Jamal. He's just got to figure it out. If you're going to call out any of your players, you better do it to every single one. There should be no favorites when it's clear that, and yes, Jamal has gone through a lot, but so has MPJ, man.
Look, Michael Porter Jr. didn't play well. He had 6 rebounds in 28 minutes. So to say he was just coasting out there, I think is ridiculous. He's also one of those guys, like Eric Dickerson was this type of running back. It never looked like he was trying hard because he's just so smooth. There are certain athletes that it just looks effortless and it doesn't look like they're trying hard. There are other athletes where they labor to do everything. It just seems like, oh my gosh, he's busting his butt. All he's doing is running up and down the court. But the biggest problems in that game, Michael Porter Jr. could have shot the ball better. But KCP committing 2 silly fouls 30 feet from the hoop, one as the shot clock was expiring, was ridiculous. Nikola Jokic losing his composure and taking a free path foul that turned into a 4-point possession for the Heat during the 13-2 run. Jeff Green not boxing out on a free throw on an and one. The Heat get the rebound. They make a 3. That's a 5-point possession. So in 2 possessions, the Heat scored 9 points. That helps with the 13-2 run. Michael Porter Jr. wasn't involved in those miscues. So to just lay it on one guy and to not lay any of it on you when the other coach made adjustments and you had 0 answers for it, no answers for it. You just continue to do the same thing over and over and over again because that's what we do every game if you're the Nuggets, is just preposterous to me. If I'm Michael Porter Jr., I've said this, and Rachel, you hit the nail on the head. The double standard is the problem. I am up to here with Michael Malone calling me out publicly and never taking any of the blame and never calling out any of my teammates. I've had it.
No, I'm with you. That's where I get a little angry. Like I said, when Jamal went 0 for 9, he was like, oh, it's okay, yada, yada, yada. Just keep telling him to shoot because eventually something will go in. But MPJ, I feel like he gets ripped. Well, he's like the stepchild.
This one was really weird because he definitely was part of some of the decisions where things went sour. I mean, he was the coach that set the lineup to start the 4th quarter. He's the one that put Christian Brown back in and Christian was having a good game. But sometimes it's like, I compared it to being at the blackjack table. If you start with $60
Correct.
And you're up 500 and then you lose 250, well, I guess you're still up, but it ain't what it used to be. And you walk away with a little bit of a feeling of regret, like, geez, I should have known when the getting was good. And frankly, the beginning of the 4th quarter with an 8-point lead, you want your most veteran, best players out there. And I do like Christian Brown. I like him a lot. But this kid's a rookie and is playing in the first NBA finals of all time. And I know he's a very experienced guy. But the problems weren't on offense. It was defense and communication. So the head coach has nothing to do with that. I mean, he's the guy that put the lineup in there. And frankly, for a guy who calls rage timeouts all the time, when they score like 2 quick buckets, how about a timeout right there? How about a timeout right there? I know that would look silly because you're about 40 seconds into the quarter, but it's not like you haven't done it before. And you decided to not start Jokic, which is fine by me because you don't do that all the time. But it just feels like when he came out, and because I rewatched the game because I wanted to see like, oh, well, where was it effort? If effort is your mental processing, then I mean, I guess okay. But effort to me is like try. Are you working hard? Are you trying? And I saw a lot of guys trying their hardest and a ton of effort. I saw a lot of mistakes. I saw, lack of discipline with KCP, fouling guys taking 3-point shots because you were maybe late to get out there. But it wasn't like they weren't trying or it wasn't with effort. It was like other mistakes. And to me, that would have been an easy one for him to come to the podium and just say, man, I got to be better. I saw what was happening. And I know that is a big-time sports cliche, but he really could have easily come out and just said, my guys almost bailed me out. We're up 8. We gave up a lot of points in the 4th quarter. I got to do better as a coach to know what I got to do. I got to have Mike. He could have said all this. Michael Porter Jr. is a shooter, and he needs to shoot. And he can't feel bad about it. I support Michael Porter Jr. And Jamal made those clutch shots down the line. And you know what? A timeout, yeah, I could see it. I could see where that made sense. I went with my gut on that because Jamal's been so good. But, that's fair. So, listen, I'll tell you this. I got to be better in Game 3. We will be better in Game 3. I support my players. I thought it was a hell of a comeback by them late in the game. He could have actually said all of that, guys, and covered the same exact ground.
He could have, but he doesn't have it in him because that's taking some responsibility. Like, this isn't the first time we've had this conversation. I feel like It's Groundhog Day. This is what he does all the time, is throw people under the bus and not take any accountability and not taking responsibility.
The key is, I'll tell you this, though. Here's the key. Will it work? And we'll find out in game 3. So to be fair, if they come out in game 3 and they perform, and I tell you what, they do have a track record this year of him ripping the team, and then they come right back the next game and perform well. So it's not like it hasn't worked before. It feels odd at this point after rewatching the game, knowing the other side of what he could do. It feels weird that, like, well, that's going to work. Like, destroying your players is going to make them play better in game. The goal is to win the series, right? The goal is to win the series. And, I mean, he was shouting this like a bullhorn. First of all, let me just point this out. He wasn't asked about effort. He was asked, I don't know what it was some, actually, it wasn't even that great of a question. Who knows? It was just a question about something else. It didn't matter. You really could have just said, "What's up, Mike?" And that would have really ticked him off because you called him Mike. But second of all, he just wanted to get that off his chest. And it was like, okay, you got to get off his chest. Next question, off his chest. Third question, off his chest. I mean, guys, I'm telling you, I wrote about this at denversports.com. Every single answer was like, "I told you so." It was like an "I told you so" fest.
Right. Which nobody wants to hear that from their leader. They don't, right?
It's a different approach. That's for sure.
But it's what he does all the time. There's no nuance and no creativity with Michael Malone. They lose a game, he rips his players. They start the same 5 guys every game. They rotate at the same time. They play the same 8. Oh, maybe we won't play Christian Brown in this game. We'll only play 7. That's the big tweak. They run 2-man game with Jokic and Murray. Like, okay, so as soon as the Heat came out and had Jimmy Butler on Jamal Murray and was giving him fits, what's the adjustment? He doesn't have one. People think I'm just mean and mad at Michael Malone, and it's a personal thing. This is all talk about an "I told you so" moment. Like, this is what I've been talking about for years. This is what I've been screaming about. Eric Spoelstra coach circles around Michael Malone. So instead of being up 2-0 with the far better team, it's 1-1 and you're in a dogfight. Now you have to win a game in Miami. Okay. All
right, but James, again, I got to stick up for Malone a little bit. Spoelstra made a terrible mistake in game 1. A coaching mistake in game 1 by not starting Kevin Love and not playing him. So he screwed up.
Yeah, and he adjusted. You know what Michael Malone would have done? We had a great fourth quarter. I'm going to play the exact same damn guys. That's what Michael Malone would have done. With 3 days off, it would have been put your feet up, chill, and just play the same dang group. That's what he does.
All right, listen, James. It's this strategy by Malone has worked all year. It has. He's ripped them. It has. He's ripped them and they played well. It has. So we'll see. We're fixing to find out tomorrow night.
It's a player-driven league, and all you got to do is tick off one of 3 guys, right? So you better have a championship. You better have a championship. If they blow this series in the offseason, one of their 3 best players, the max contract guys, says, "I don't want to play for that guy anymore," what do you think's going to happen?
Okay, that's a whole other discussion. I did ask, though, on YouTube, if you were Malone, would you have called a timeout? 61% of people said yes. So, interesting. I think all 3 of us agreed we probably would have called a timeout.
Well, it's just the most common sense thing to do. It just happens 9 out of 10 times in that sort of situation. And again, my reasoning for it is I want my best player, Nikola Jokic, to make the decision. Now, you got to understand, his decision may be give the ball right back to Jamal. Maybe. That may be his decision. But his decision may be to whip the pass, because he's an unbelievable passer, over to Michael Porter Jr., who is standing there. You got to go back and watch that last play and watch Michael Porter Jr. He goes to the corner, and he's just standing there with his arms down because he knows, and he's not wrong. He knows he's not going to see the ball. And KCP, frankly, is not far for him doing the same thing. Had Jamal maybe jab step, KCP, pump fake, Michael Porter Jr., I get it. He was terrible all night, but he would have been wide open for the easiest shot in basketball to tie the game.
113-111. The Nuggets are up in the final seconds of game 4 against the Lakers. Nikola Jokic never touches the ball. Michael Porter Jr. never touches the ball. It's Jamal Murray, dribble, gets into the lane and misses a shot. Now, fortunately, they stopped LeBron James and the Nuggets win the game. But like we've seen this over and over and over again. He doesn't pass the ball. It's hero ball. You could go back at the end of any quarter, any half, any game when it's been tight and Jamal Murray has the ball. It's the same thing every time.
Yeah, and it's kind of wild because the best decision maker for sure by a mile is Jokic. He's the best decision maker and he's the best passer in the NBA. And of course, his decision may be to shoot the ball.
If Michael Porter Jr. 5 or 6 times in this postseason had the ball in his hands in the final seconds at a critical moment, refused to pass, threw up a bad shot, and missed it, do you think he'd get it the next time?
No.
Of course not. So it's a double standard. It's the double standard.
All right. See, sometimes I'm like agreeing with James, and other times you go like to a degree that I'm like, all right, okay, hold on a second. So,
but it is a double standard when it comes to MPJ and Jamal. I think that's something, even if you're just a casual Nuggets fan and you would listen, you could agree on that because it's very obvious. Malone has gotten the Nuggets this far, so you got to give him a little bit of credit that he must know somewhat about what he's doing. Now, if they collapse James, we'll all be like, James, you were right. Hail James on that. Of course, nobody wants that, but it is a big question. If you're the Heat, you know who's going to get the ball on the last play of every game if it comes down to a buzzer beater or a close game like that. You have to do something else, and the fact that none of your other players are even ready, that's mind-blowing to me. That's the main issue there, is that we all know Jamal's going to get it in the final seconds, but your other players have to at least look ready, because if Jamal can't do it, what the hell's going to happen? It's just going to collapse.
It's the definition of insanity, right? It truly is. And yes, and I've written about this at DenverSports.com. I've given Michael Malone a lot of credit for the us against the world attitude. We get no respect, all those things, the cards he played, particularly against the Lakers, even somewhat against the Suns. Yeah, it worked. But you've also now put a bullseye on your back, and your coaching decisions, you got what you wanted, coach. Everybody's paying attention to you. They're not talking about Rui Hachimura anymore. They're talking about you and whether you should have called a timeout. You and whether or not you were capable of drawing up an out-of-bounds play that would actually get an open look, or if you're just a passenger. Mm-hmm. So, people can laugh when I call him Ron Turcotte, the guy who was the jockey for Secretariat. In the last 11 seconds of the game, all of us were in the building. We had as much impact on the game as the head coach. Mm-hmm. That's preposterous and ridiculous. And you don't have to have a timeout for that. It could be, hey, we've gone back, Jamal, and we've watched this film, and this is what we do at the end of every half, every quarter, every game. We got to do something different. Jamal Murray seems like a coachable young man. He seems like somebody who's reasonable and could see it. Are they not showing him these things? Like, what impact is the coach having? It's hard to come up with what it is.
Okay, well, Tyler Hero, his uncertain for tomorrow. If you're the Heat, you figured out one way to beat the Nuggets. Do you bring him back? He is doing contact workouts, but is it worth it since he hasn't played since April 16th, D-Mac?
It's tricky. He's their best shooter. So, but he hasn't played in 7 weeks. That's a tough one. I think he is going to come back based on the things that Spoelstra said over the weekend. I mean, Spoelstra wasn't even very ambiguous about it. It was almost like certain that he would come back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got to play him, and sure, he's one of their better players. You got to play him, and you see how it goes. I mean, why is he doing all this work to not come back? That doesn't make any sense.
We were worried about the rust on the Nuggets for 9 days. Could you imagine the rust for 7 weeks, though? And yeah,
maybe, but he's been going through workouts. These guys are in. Listen, I'll give you what is a load of crap. The altitude, okay? That is just not a significant enough thing. I'm not saying it's nothing, but not for these guys. It really isn't. These guys are in just absurd shape. They're some of the finest tuned athletes in the world. So the altitude is whatever. And his fitness level and all that is not going to be that big of a deal. What is more of an impact is just how you mentally approach things. Like, how is this moment for you? Are you really feeling it? Is it causing adrenaline surges that are wiping you out? I mean, that's more of a cause of anything. I think the rust on the Nuggets was pretty evident because you're just not playing a whole lot of basketball. I don't think it has anything to do with the altitude. I think you need to be in a competitive situation. So that's probably what would be the problem for Harrow if he struggles at all. But you got to give it a shot. I mean, he's one of your guys. I mean, this is actually kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, you can play him a few minutes. If he is out of sorts and can't hit a shot, then he sits back down on the bench. So, he has the old proverbial short leash, but he's gonna see some minutes as soon as he's ready to go.
Fourth quarter. Look at this. Miami Heat playoff scoring margin. First quarter, -1. Second quarter, -11. Third quarter, -12. Fourth quarter, plus 90. The Heat are 3 ways away from a title of being outscored for 3/4 of the game. Remarkable. Eric Spoelstra. You guys, the fourth quarter is where the Heat come alive, and the fourth quarter is where the Nuggets really struggle and have struggled all season. Wow, the matchup that we have in the NBA Finals, that's crazy. That number right there is insane, James.
Yeah, I mean, it's Eric Spoelstra is tremendous at in-game adjustments. It's seeing what he and his staff, like, let's not just give him all the credit. All these guys have a bunch of people around them that are helping them out and breaking it down. They clearly those numbers aren't a fluke, right? This isn't over the course of a short number of games. This is into the fourth series, and they went to 7 games in their last one. So he's just great at making in-game adjustments. And, I don't think when you're bad in the fourth quarter over and over and over again, it's just an effort situation, right? Like, did the Lakers make the big comeback in game 2 because the Nuggets took their foot off the gas? Maybe a little bit. Or did Darvin Ham keep trying things and then he found something and lo and behold, they made a run, right? Like, but what does Michael Malone do after that? He just goes in and mocks the media for talking about adjustments. Just mocks them. Okay. All right. Roll it back out again. Do the same thing. Eric Spoelstra, the Heat have one advantage in this series. One. And it's at head coach. And right now it's got it to be a 1-1 series with the first 2 games being
James. Played. All right. Oh my God.
It's it.
Screwed up game 1. So I mean, I'd say it's
tied. I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's sure as hell doesn't just keep repeating the same mistake over and over and over again.
The series is tied. The coaching is tied. It's all tied.
Oh my God.
I mean, we'll. Oh, there he goes. We got another one there, Rachel. So, but I'm agreeing with you on certain things.
Things were in Denver. He got a split. He's got
okay.
an advantage now.
Hey, man! Rubber hits the road tomorrow night.
No doubt.
Rubber hits the road tomorrow night. We'll have some significant answers on a lot of these questions. All right, hold on. Timeout. I'm using a timeout. That's unusual. Timeout. Do you think the Heat are going to win tomorrow night?
No.
Why?
Because the Nuggets have a far better roster, and the league got what they wanted, an extra game, and they got a great TV rating in game 2, so they're going to hit their minimum number of viewers. All is good.
Oh, okay. And I think that the Nuggets players are going to be absolutely fired up, and I think we're going to see better basketball out of it.
All right, then Malone's strategy worked.
I don't
think he was the smartest one in the room.
I don't think any of the refs tomorrow night went to high school with any of the Heat players, so I think we're good.
Okay, there weren't that many bad calls though on
Sunday
night.
The Jimmy Butler stepped out of bounds, threw a pass that turns into a 3. The goaltend, like when your arm goes backwards, it's impossible for it not to be a goaltend. Like those were terrible calls in a high school game. 3 consecutive out of bounds where Nikola Jokic's mind about exploded that the Nuggets didn't get the ball. I mean, the NBA's got it down, right? Because you look at it, Nuggets shot 2 more free throws. The foul count was off by 1.
Yeah.
You look at it and go, well, looks like a pretty evenly ref game. Yeah, so did all of Tim Donaghy's games when you looked at the box score. I'm just saying that was fishy beyond fishy.
All right. Well, James, you brought it up, the viewership numbers. Let's look at game 1 first. 11.58 million. The Dubs and Celtics in 2022. I feel like anything with Golden State always draws good numbers. That was 11.9 million. But then you look at game 2 as well. The Denver market had a 22.3 rating. It was the highest rated Denver Nuggets game ever on any network. Okay. And yet people don't want to watch the Denver Nuggets. Okay, we hear you, whatever it is. The game one viewership numbers, though, is what really stands out to me. Because, yeah, we heard over and over again, oh, they're not going to get a whole lot of coverage because people don't want to watch it. I think people don't want to watch the same teams every single year in, year out, yada, yada, yada. I think it's actually a breath of fresh air for basketball, just casual basketball viewers. And then, of course, you're getting all the Denver Nuggets fans in there, too, that are not like, let's freaking go the first time ever.
Yeah, Dan Patrick was just flat out wrong. And I love Dan Patrick. But that's just you, Dan. Sorry, dude. I mean, that's you and your Danettes that just can't put toothpicks in your eyes to stay up past 9:30. The games for the Nuggets are exciting. And while we may share some frustrations when our team doesn't win, to think that the Nuggets don't have an exciting brand of basketball is just pure laziness or just a bad take on your part. And the ratings prove it. It's very compelling. So are the Heat. The Heat are a very compelling team too. And I do agree with you, Rachel. People like new things, fresh things, exciting things. Yes. And some the thought that I just want to watch, LeBron James again or Lakers Celtics again, you're not giving the viewing public enough credit. And what a great sports city we are. Seriously. Look at Denver, Colorado, and how we get behind things. And sure, a lot of people are probably bandwagon fans and don't know, but let's call it what it is. The root cause of that is because it's been difficult to watch these games for the past 4 years. So you can't blame people who are just sort of catching on, especially casual fans. Here's how casual fans find out about a team. Casual fans, it's on. Somebody else is watching it in your house and it's on. And you kind of can fall in love with it or know about it or talk about it. The diehard sports fans, you got them already, okay? And that doesn't really impact the huge ratings. Huge ratings are impacted by casual fans who are picking it up, who are coming with it. So as frustrating as it is for fans that really love the sport, we're all figuring out ways, right? Whether we get Fubo or some sort of illegal stream or, whatever. The people that it hurts the most are especially kids, like teenagers, where it's just not on. Like you have dinner, you do your homework, a game is on. That was my life growing up. And that's why I was a Celtics, Bruins, Red Sox fan. Patriots were on the weekend, but the games were always on, guys. In my house, there was always a game on at night. And that's what we shared with our parents and how we grew up. That has been missing here in this market for 4 years. So you can see the desire to actually catch up on this and the passion for it once people can finally consume it.
Well, look, the NBA is no different than any other entertainment executive, right? So they go with the winning formula. There's a reason you can go watch Fast and the Furious 14 or whatever in the hell's in the theater at the moment. And it's, hey, here's Batman meets Robin meets Spider-Man meets the Hulk part 7, because that's just like repeat. Where does innovation come and creativity come? No mainstream outlet wanted Ted Lasso. No mainstream outlet put Breaking Bad on. It was AMC. That's the people that are willing to take risks. But if you look at that list of the top cities that watched it, 3 of them were the home market because the West Palm Beach and Miami are both Heat markets. Milwaukee and Memphis, 2 other smaller markets, right? Yeah. So the NBA is probably not thrilled that it's not LA, Chicago, New York that aren't watching it, but they're resonating with all the rest of those basketball markets that want to think that they have a chance and that, hey, maybe this isn't stacked against us. The NFL figured it out decades ago, right? Yeah. Like you could have the Colts and the Packers in the Super Bowl and everybody's going to tune in and watch because they didn't just tell everybody over and over and over again, if it ain't LA and it ain't New York, it ain't interesting. So middle America is what's watching these games and what's driving these ratings. Just who does the NBA want to cater to, the coasts or the big chunk in the middle?
Yeah, we'll see. And by the way, when I go on my rant about the TV stuff, I'm not casting blame on one side or another. I seriously am not. But Adam Silver talked about how they've repeatedly tried to figure this out. Listen, guys, we with technology are not going backwards, okay? We're not going backwards. So any model that existed in the past is completely irrelevant right now. I don't care what it used to be. You have to exist in the now. I've said a million times, sports should be played as if they were invented yesterday. Well, that goes for broadcasting too. And this is why the NFL, who is by far the smartest sports organization, look at their popularity, look what they do. It is unreal. And I bet you one of the developments with the NFL will be putting on football one way or the other 5 nights a week somehow in the next 5 years. You will get Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturdays off, Sunday, Monday, maybe Tuesday. Seriously. I mean, you may get something. Well, you may get something like it, and you may get a division over in Europe too.
Here's what they need to remember, though. And Rachel, you might not be old enough to remember this, but D-Mac, do you remember when Regis Philbin hosting Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was just this supernova, became the most popular show in America? And then it was, we're going to put it on 2 nights a week. And then it was on 5 nights a week. And what happened? The ratings went to crap because it wasn't special. You could
No, James, you're missing the difference. I wasn't allowed to gamble on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And the increase in the ease which people can gamble now is the huge difference here between Regis.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I'm with you. I'm not blaming any one side on this deal. But if we're all in the office later today and somebody tells us how great Ted Lasso is, but then they try explaining the 17 hoops you have to jump through to watch Ted Lasso, you ain't going to watch it, right? So all these people is like, well, if you want to watch the Nugget games, you can. Listen, man, I can flip on Netflix, Apple TV, anything else with one button. If you make it hard for a consumer, right? Like, I ain't making 3 U-turns to go to Jack in the Box. It doesn't work that way. So Adam Silver hit the nail on the head. The big problem with that press conference was he didn't have a solution, and he didn't have coming soon.
No, I don't think so either. I think we'll see another year with the same problem. And I think that there's a contract that does run out, I think, in a couple of years. I think there's something, I think it's an NBA sort of deal. And I believe it has 2 years left. When that runs out, then you're probably going to have the end to the issue because the NBA will just simply take over and dictate how their games are being broadcast. But they don't have those rights right now, but I believe that expires in a couple of years. So this may go on for another couple of years. Listen, if you want good news for the Cronkies, they've done all this, and look at what the ratings are. Look at the demand. These games are sold out night after night after night, okay? You are getting major dollars to go to these games, consume these games. And I do got to praise the Cronkies for putting together back-to-back years of championship teams. And I'll even give them credit for the Bandits or the Mammoth who lost to the Bandits. But listen, they're back. They're almost successful in everything they touch when it comes to sports. And I know there's a little frustration with the minor league soccer team, but I mean, it's a minor league soccer team. At least it exists. And if it wasn't for the Cronkies, I don't know if that would even be here in town, to be quite honest with you. Who knows what would be going on in Commerce City. So what they've done is actually amazing. The Rams, the Avs, the Nuggets, Arsenal, the Mammoth, all in the buildings they own, all buildings that they do not have the taxpayers pay for. So listen, kudos to them, right? I mean, they're giving the fans what they want. All the fans want is to watch them more often. That's all. But that being said, look who we are. We're Colorado. We jump on the bandwagon. We don't care. We don't protest like that. That's part of the problem with the Rockies. We're never going to protest. Hell, I spent a weekend at McGregor Square. I had a great time this past weekend.
I was wondering why you did that. Were you just looking for a little staycation?
I did do that because we were looking for just a little something to shake things up and have some fun at being empty nesters. But I'll tell you this, it was damn fun. Okay? Sorry. You had a great freaking idea. The rooftop was a great idea. McGregor Square is not a good idea. It's a great idea. And it was executed sublimely. And the Broncos would be smart. And I bet you that is exactly what they do. I bet you they don't build a new stadium. I bet you they build a McGregor Square in one of their parking lots. I bet you that's exactly what happens.
They should. But could you imagine how much fun it would have been, how much more fun it would have been down at McGregor Square if the Rockies were actually relevant?
But that's the key to McGregor Square. It doesn't matter.
It's imagine.
Yeah, sure. It would be better. It would be more fun, but the rooms might be more expensive. So I'll take the discount bargain when I can get it.
God.
And I'll tell you, they built something next to the ballpark where it doesn't matter if the Rockies weren't playing. They weren't playing there, and it didn't matter to us. It was the Denver Day of Rock, and there were free concerts, and you could walk up and down the streets. It was an amazing experience. And then we stayed over Saturday. Sunday, we walked down the road to Ball Arena for the NBA Finals. We actually had a pretty freaking amazing Denver weekend this past weekend, and for the past four or 5 days. It's been pretty awesome. Despite the gloomy weather, the city of Denver just had a great 5 days.
Did you see your son while you were down there?
Brought to you by the Chamber of Commerce? Because that was good.
This is brought to you by somebody who's lived here for 23 years who isn't afraid of going downtown. This is who it's brought to you by. I go downtown. I love downtown. My son lives downtown. I mean, I'm a fan. And like all cities, there's occasionally issues. But look what we just have happen. And last June, how spectacular was that last June too with the Avalanche?
Awesome.
Okay? And the Broncos, it's time to catch up.
Okay, we're going to move on to the Broncos, but I have a secret I have to tell you, both of you. I got so fired up earlier that I apparently broke my hair tie, and now my hair is going to be a little wild for the rest of the show, but that's besides the point. Something neither one of you ever have to deal with. But thanks, T-Mac. I appreciate it. Let's move on to the Broncos, though, because Cecil Lammy did a really good piece over at denversports.com on the premature hype of Greg Dulcich. I'm curious, are both of you on the bandwagon of this, or do you say, hey, let's see what can happen for this guy first?
I'm with Cecil. You know, I mean, the Broncos have made a lot of moves at tight end this year. They traded for one on draft day. They signed a couple via free agency. Like, clearly they weren't thrilled with what they had in that room already with Alberto and Dulcich. Doesn't mean Dulcich won't be the guy and he won't emerge from training camp and preseason games and all the rest of it. But, man, they watch one practice. You hear some comment about him playing the Joker role, and all of a sudden he's Jimmy Graham. I mean, it's like, timeout, blow the roll. But this is what happens when there's such limited amount of information. Everybody's got to jump onto one little thing. And, yeah, I think Cecil hit the nail on the head. Let's wait a bit on this one.
The reason why Dulcich is dangerous, okay, and he's got a skill set that's uncommon. But the problem with Dulcich, to make his skill set really uncommon, you have to use him over the middle. And you get into problems with that because that is not where Russell Wilson thrives. It never has been, okay? You know, that's why his tight ends for a long time just haven't really, been superstar tight ends, okay? And listen, I'm not trying to be mean. This is just some basic heights analysis. And so, yeah, when Jarrett Stidham's in there, and Jarrett Stidham's way taller than Russell Wilson, all of a sudden, Greg Dulcich looks pretty incredible. So you had a period of time here with Tim Tebow and Eric Decker and Demaryius Thomas where you were not getting the best out of Decker and Thomas. You know, I remember Decker talked to me after a season was over, and I go, well, what's it like catching a pass from Tebow? And he goes, well, one's like this and one's like that. And, he's a lefty too because it's spinning the wrong way, and you just didn't get the best of him. You put Peyton Manning there, and all of a sudden, Decker and Demaryius Thomas are, incredible. It's all, like Joe Klatt, our friend, says, it's a dependent position. So how good Greg Dulcich is going to be absolutely corollary to how good Russell Wilson is in terms of finding him. And that's kind of the end of the story.
Well, I mean, when he had Jimmy Graham for a year in Seattle, Jimmy Graham had good numbers. Is he a miracle worker and going to make Will Dissly?
Yeah, but James, what Jimmy Graham did was different than Dulcich because Jimmy Graham was much taller and was a high point guy. So he would out jump guys. Dulcich's big thing is his speed and the way he can get open in parts of the field to find him. But those parts of the field, I'm telling you, I saw it. I did see it with my own two eyes. The parts of the field that it's the most effective, it's over the middle, guys. It is. It's in the middle of the field. And that's a tough place for Russell Wilson right now to operate. Maybe they can figure it out, but that's got nothing to do with being lean and mean. That's got to do with being able to see your target and put it in the spot on a timing route. And those are two things that's just not really Russell Wilson's game. Russell Wilson's game is to stay alive, move the pocket, and then see a guy and hit him. That's really been his game more than anything, or throw a really great deep ball. Finding a guy on a timing pattern over the middle, That hasn't been Russell Wilson's key to success. It hasn't been. And I'm not even dumping on Russell Wilson for that. I don't want a guy, who throws all curveballs to all of a sudden be a fastball expert. I get it. You throw curveballs. That's your thing. I'm not bagging on Russell Wilson, but this whole Greg Dulcich thing, it's in a vacuum, guys, because he looked best when Russell Wilson wasn't in on that practice. I was there, okay? So I'm telling you that. It's a dependent thing. He looked fine with Jarrett Stidham, and there wasn't much to say when Russell Wilson was there with Dulcich.
Well,
I don't know how else to call it.
You should save this for No Offense Friday. I'm not trying to bag on Russell Wilson, but
have you seen that commercial that's been playing during the NBA Finals? It's like anytime anybody says no offense, something offensive always comes after.
Right.
D-Mac, that's exactly what you just did.
Well, I kill you with truth. I don't know what else to say. You're asking me about Dulcich, and I'm saying maybe, but he's got to be delivered the ball in the places of the field that are the
Let me ask you this. Who was playing middle linebacker during all that?
I don't even know. I couldn't tell you.
Yes, it was Alex Singleton and Josie Jewell, so that would probably have something to do with their success.
All right. Well, listen, whatever. Dulcich, I would tell everybody to slow your horses on Dulcich. I will tell you this. I think they were thinking of dumping Dulcich. I think they were thinking about getting rid of him, and at least that's changed. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I get it. He's not going to be a great blocker. He's got other deficiencies. It was your fault that you tried to have Albert O block somebody with the Chiefs, and he almost beheaded, Melvin Gordon, and that caused that huge fumble, But that was on Albert O, not Melvin Gordon. It's like if you wake up out of bed and somebody just hits you out of it, you're gonna lose everything you got in your hands. That's on Albert O. So if you keep sticking players in bad positions to make plays that they can't really make, well, that's on you, coach. So call a timeout.
Agreed. That's what bad coaches do.
Don't go draft Dulcich on your fantasy team quite yet, because I do expect this team to be a running team for sure first. So if you're going to draft a running back for the Broncos.
No. Yeah, I would.
No.
I wouldn't draft any receivers or anybody like that.
Yeah.
They're
The
going to throw the ball
only receiver you should take a chance on if you're desperate is Jerry Jeudy. I mean, that's it.
They're going to throw the ball 60 to 65% of the time. Sean Payton likes to throw the football, and they have to find out this year if Russell Wilson is the answer.
No way.
They don't want to get to the end of the year.
What do you want to put on that one?
9-8, and Training Wheels Wilson had a decent year. Well, what the heck are you going to do? You're going to pay him $50 million moving forward? You're going to move on? No. They're taking the training wheels off, putting him at the top of the hill, and pushing him. That's what they're going to do.
Here's what's going to happen. They are going to run the ball way more than they throw the ball. Sean Payton's in this thing for 3 years. 3 years. He'll give Russell Wilson the money, and he's not going to start again. Sean Payton's only going to be coaching the Broncos for 3 years. So why would he start again? No way.
Coffee bet?
What's that?
Coffee bet, whether they run the ball or throw the ball more?
I'm writing it down. Don't worry, everybody. Hold on. Let me find my thing.
So if they have one more pass than run during the season, I get my Vente
You got it.
hike with 3 Splendas.
It's not even going to be that close. You got it. No problem.
Okay, writing this down. I'm going to start keeping my list.
Yeah, but you guys got to understand, Sean Payton is not in this thing for the long haul. That's what everybody is kind of missing out. I give him 3 years. He'll put away $60 million, and he's going to just, have some fun with it. Then, he's going to enjoy the rest of his life. He'll go back to TV. He'll make easy money. He had a really, really, really good life before he took this job. Really good life. And he's just going to go back to it.
Well, he took this job because despite having a really, really good life, he knew he missed football. He's going to make the same mistake again in 3 years.
Yeah, you just, you do stuff. You do stupid things in life. He'll be
not multiple times.
Yeah, he'll be 62 and he'll have grandkids and it'll just be done. Plus, the allure of doing the TV thing is just too much. And he will have to commit to Russell Wilson will be the quarterback here next year.
They're not paying him $50 million to hand off. They're not. They aren't going to do it. What can I tell you?
They'll win 9 games. They'll see hope. They'll sign him up for the big, huge bonus, and it'll be Russell Wilson.
If Sean Payton is only here for 3 years, even more reason he's not going to burn 1 year just calling handoffs. Ain't happening. He's going to want to show everybody what a genius he is and all the different formations and the joker position, and he's moving Dulcich all over, and he saved Russell Wilson. It's not going to be, wow.
You know what? Hey, James, nice thought.
Tackled a Samaj P. Ryan.
Well, give me 5 days
now.
James, give me 5 days of training camp and let's look into the off day when all the coaches look at film of the first 5 days of training camp. You want to talk about a big prediction. Wait till you see what happens after the first day off of training camp when they come back from that first day off of training camp. Wait till you see the changes. And they ain't going back from it. It's the easiest prediction I could ever make. And I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do. It probably is the right thing to do. Sorry, Jimmy. This is the way it's going to go.
Yeah, because they can't wait to just try to win 17-14 with Samaje Perine having 31 carries in week 2. That'll be a hoot.
It is a wake-up call when you get there and you see what the truth is. It is like, what? Okay. Now what do we do?
Did the Seahawks run the ball more than they threw the ball when they had Marshawn Lynch?
James, we're not getting in the hot tub time machine, my friend. I wish we could.
Just
if
saying,
we could go back 10 years, we'd all be better.
Young Russ and Marshawn Lynch, a borderline Hall of Famer, but we're going to do it here with Javonte Williams coming off a knee injury, Samaje Perine, and whoever else they pick up off the street. That's
you realize that the Seahawks year after year ran the ball more than threw the ball, right? You know that, right?
That's what I just asked. And you had called me hot tub time machine. I'm just asking, did they run the ball more than they threw it in 2013 when they beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl? My guess is no.
That year, but over Russell Wilson's career, they certainly ran it more than they threw it.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that any NFL team does that. I really don't. Not in today's day and age.
Listen, here's the best thing about having a time machine.
Who's coaching this team? George Halas?
The time machine we need is just to go back like 3-6 weeks so we can get rid of that beard. I mean,
is it itchy?
No, I forget I even have it until I look at the camera.
Oh,
does your wife hate it?
And I'm not the one to give fashion advice, obviously, but that beard is terrible.
It is terrible.
Terrible.
It's terrible. I look like this.
You are a good-looking dude, and you look significantly worse with that thing.
Thank you. No, I know. It's universally hated by everyone, including myself.
Okay, so the wife hates it?
Everyone hates it.
Why are you even doing it?
Because I don't want to jinx the Nuggets. I'm trying to overcome all the history.
I love how everybody, first of all, James, I was only going to keep you for like 40 minutes today because I was like, oh, he's got to get down to the office. We do our weekly meeting, everybody. But this show is so much fun with both of you, and I love it too. The comments love it. DMAC versus James, LOL. It's a treat every single time. Since we got what's that?
Little programming note. You get 4 hours of me and DMAC tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday on the drive.
Buckle up, everyone.
That's going to be a hoot.
Buckle up. Wait, I want to come in for a segment. I'm coming in for a segment.
Come on in
for a full hour. I've decided.
You can come on in and set us up. It'd be great.
Perfect. It's way too much fun.
Rachel, the door is open. We would love you to come in at anytime you want. Open invite.
It's too much fun with both of you. But since we only have 1 minute left, I do want to go in the headlines and talk about the Vegas Golden Knights because they absolutely destroyed the Panthers. I don't know if you two have been paying much attention to the NHL playoffs. I've just been kind of peeking in here and there. But is it bad news for the Colorado Avalanche if the Golden Knights win? Because I definitely don't want them to win.
Very bad news. They have a superstar, and they actually have a couple superstars with Eichel and Stone, and they're well coached. They have a very supportive fan base. They got a lot of money. They got a lot of things that the Avalanche also maybe have, and they're in the same conference. Yeah, significantly bad news. I just want to say, though, the NHL deserves every bad rating they have. They do not know how to promote their product. They don't understand who their stars are, and they put their finals idiotically at the same time as the NBA finals. The NHL finals should be in March, right before March Madness. That's when we should be doing this, when it's cold, when it feels like hockey. And you should start in August when it would be nice in a very hot day to get inside where there's ice. What they do in the NHL is beyond stupid. And they should start training camp right when the NBA finals more or less end in July. After the 4th of July, they would have everything to themselves. So the NHL is just dumb. I don't know how else to say it. They're just dumb, and they deserve every bad rating they get because they've created this crazy provincial sort of sport where you only care about it in Europe, Canada, and whatever city is playing in the Stanley Cup final. So am I watching it? Hell no, I'm not watching it, because why would I?
Okay, James, 30 seconds, go.
I agree with most of what D-Mac said. I will say this. It doesn't matter if Vegas wins or loses this series. It's already bad news for the Avs because all those things D-Mac listed off, they exist whether they're hoisting the cup or not. But you know what? Give me a team in the conference to shoot for. I think one of the problems heading into the playoffs is everybody said, Avs are going to breeze through the West. It ain't going to matter. Okay, well, now they're going to have the defending cup champs in that conference. So that gives them something to shoot for.
And by the way, really quick, the Avs weren't close. They lost to the Kraken. The Kraken lost to the Stars. The Stars lost to Vegas. I mean, they weren't close. And really, really quick, Val Nichushkin is going to be back on the Avs, and no questions asked. He's just going to be back. And that's it, which is wild considering what's going on. But we now know that he will just flat out be back with the Avalanche.
If his teammates agree to.
They don't have a choice. They have no choice, and it'll be what it'll be. And it's a weird, very odd culture in hockey that will just be the case.
If Jokic didn't want somebody that maybe ended up going to the Clippers to play for the team, do you think they're going to get rid of him?
Yes, but it's different. It's the NHL.
Nathan McKinnon comes in and says, I am absolutely not playing with this individual. Do you think they're going to get rid of him?
It's the culture of hockey does not allow that. They don't do that. Players don't speak up like that. It's just the nature of the game. It is. And so he will be back. And I don't know if we'll ever know the specifics of where he went or why he went where he went. We learned in that videotape there was a medical condition that supposedly Val needed to, and then they silenced the cameras. But we did hear the Avs doctor said Val Nichushkin was suffering from a medical condition.
Yes.
Okay. And maybe that's the best that we're going to find out about this. It is devastatingly disappointing that a player that you counted on the most, one of the players you counted on the most, was so unbelievably irresponsible that he put himself and his team in that position. I will have a very, very, very hard time welcoming Val Nichushkin back to the team based on his selfish and irresponsible behavior.
Depends on what the medical condition was. I'm with you, but you could come up with something conceivable where you would say, oh, okay, I get it. So I'm 99% with you, but I'm giving myself the out.
All right, I'll give myself a little bit of an out too, but you got to be kidding me. And if there's something that we should know, let us know.
Denversports.com has a great article on it too. Check it out. I will say the NHL knows how to host media better than the NBA does. That is going to do it for Coffee Break today.
What about golf? What about golf?
Oh, I know. Okay, PGA Tour, go. I think they're frauds, but
I will never watch golf again. I was told by the PGA and their players the Live Tour is evil. I bought into it, and now you do a deal. Hey, guess what, golf? The best I will never watch golf again. I will watch amateur golf. I will watch college golf. I will watch, the PGA is involved with women's golf too. I cannot believe this decision today. I think it's one of the most outrageous things in the history of sports that they would concede to what's going on with the Live Tour. I think it's absolutely reprehensible. I am out on golf. I'll never watch pro golf ever, 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 ever again. I am done with golf. And I used to love watching golf.
And on that note, Coffee Break will end. We'll see you guys all tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Have a wonderful Tuesday, everybody. Bye.